Who's actually getting the most out of a 1500 VA UPS for a gaming rig, and who can safely skip it? Is the price justified for someone who just wants to keep a few peripherals alive during a brownout, or does it truly make sense for power-hungry enthusiasts who run multiple monitors, a high-end GPU, and a custom water-cooled CPU? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Those are the 3 questions I keep hearing from folks who are standing in front of their wall outlet, staring at a cheap power strip, and wondering whether they should invest in a rack-mountable UPS instead. The first thing I did when I started looking into this class of UPS was to map out a typical gaming PC setup. Most of my friends run a main tower with a 750 watt or larger PSU, a dual monitor array, a few US-powered peripherals, and maybe a capture card for streaming. On a normal day, the load sits somewhere between 400–650 watts, but during a heavy gaming session or a GPU benchmark, you can see spikes that push the PSU near its limit. That's where the Sinewave output of the CyberPower PR1500RTXL2UC becomes relevant. Unlike a cheap simulated sine wave that can make some power supplies behave oddly, a true sine wave mimics the clean power you get from the grid, so your components see what they expect. In practice, that means you won't get those occasional power supply error messages that some of the cheaper models trigger when the load fluctuates quickly. Now, who should actually buy this? If you're a streamer who runs a 1080p or 1440p rig, have a capture card, an external hard drive array, and you need a few minutes of runtime to save a live stream recording while the grid hiccups, the 1500 VA 1500W rating gives you roughly 1012 minutes of backup at a 400 watt load. That's enough time to let your computer shut down cleanly and protect a costly SSD with a smooth, non-abrupt cut. The built-in cloud monitoring, which you can access via the Smart app, also gives you real-time alerts on battery health and load, so you can see at a glance whether you're pushing the UPS too hard. The 8 NEMA 515R outlets are all spaced to accommodate a tower PSU, a monitor power brick, a router, and a couple of USB chargers without needing any extra power strips. If, however, you're a weekend gamer who only plays a couple of hours a week, runs a single monitor, and your PSU is under 500 watts, you probably don't need the extra capacity or the rack mount form factor. A smaller desktop-style UPS, maybe 750 VA, would cover the same use case for a fraction of the price and would sit on a desk without the need for a rack and a tiltable LCD. In short, the price tag on the PR1500RTXL2UC, while not cheap, starts to make sense only when you have a system that truly draws close to the upper end of its rating. Practical strengths show up once you start using the unit in a real-world environment. The first thing I noticed is the adjustable voltage regulation, AVR. In my town, the utility sometimes experiences a low voltage dip of around 110 V during peak demand. The AVR automatically boosts the incoming voltage back up to a stable 120 V without dipping into battery mode. That means my gaming PC stays on without any interruption, and the battery isn't drained for a dip that could have been corrected by a simple voltage boost. For anyone living in an area with frequent brownouts, that alone can extend the life of the battery by a noticeable margin. Another tangible benefit is the tiltable, rotatable LCD panel. Most UPSs lock the display in a fixed orientation, which can be a pain when you mount the unit in a rack and try to glance at the status. With this model, you can twist the panel so it faces the front of the rack, and you can tilt it back just enough to read the load, runtime, and battery health without having to crouch or reach over cables. It's a small ergonomic win, but after a few weeks of daily use it becomes a habit you appreciate. On the flip side, there are a couple of practical weaknesses that matter once you unpack the box. First, the unit is 2U tall, which means you need a proper rack or a sturdy shelf that can bear the weight, about 36 pounds. For a home user without a dedicated rack, you'll have to make space on a desk or a shelving unit, and that might feel a bit awkward compared to a smaller, desktop-style UPS that just sits on the floor. Second, the battery, while covered under a 3-year warranty, is still a sealed lead-acid type. That means it will gradually lose capacity over time, and you'll have to plan for a replacement after 35 years if you keep it at full load. The UPS does have an extended battery module (EBM) option, but that adds another $200 to the overall cost, and the base unit doesn't come with that upgrade pre-installed. Another hidden trade-off is the noise level. When the unit is on battery mode, the